Wukusu, peace, black power, and welcome to Harlem Liberation School's YouTube channel. Harlem Liberation School is a black nationalist, pan-African community organization based in Harlem. We provide relevant and credible political education to help black people wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of Brother Malcolm X. To do this, we provide panel discussions, political commentary, mini documentaries, leadership tips, classes, and interviews with some of our most dedicated and effective leaders, activists, and intellectuals around the world. Peace and black power families. Brother IJ Taimba representing Harlem Liberation School, where we teach black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Let's see if I can change this look very quickly. Hold on, family. Yeah, I think that's better. I want to change the color. Sorry, family. I want to make sure I got it right. Okay. Very good. So, family, this was done last minute. I thought I had put the announcement up earlier, and I didn't. I set everything up, but I forgot to put the announcement. So, therefore, I don't expect a lot of people on the live. But knowing what I know about social media and how it works, that's all good. A lot of people are going to see this once it's recorded. I wanted to make sure that we did it soon because, we just passed Dr. King's 97th birthday. And his holiday is coming up, so I wanted it to be timely and relevant. And I didn't want to do the typical Martin Luther King was born and he did it. I wanted to do something relevant to tie a lesson into it that's kind of framed around Dr. King and his life. So that's why we'll be talking today about what Dr. King's life teaches us about criticism and resilience. His life is a lot of lessons from Dr. King's life, but one that just stands out to me, and one I think we need to really talk about, wrap our minds around, particularly in this climate of social media, where everybody has something to say about somebody else in public. I think it's important we understand criticism and how to deal with it. First and foremost, we got a lovely queen, Sister Brenda. She's saying Wukusu to the family. Wukusu back to Sister Brenda, who, by the way, didn't she do a lovely job? Look at this beard, family. That's the queen's work. You see that? Yeah, that's the queen's work right there. Much thanks for her. I do want to make sure that we're clear that starting this month, family, January 29th, doing monthly workshops, leadership empowerment workshops on a number of topics. I'm not even going to get into all of them, but it's very important if you're interested, and I want to fill these classes up. I want to make sure that we are getting the basic best practices of community organizing. And in fact, after this round, we're going to now get into straight hardcore community organizing, how you power map, all these different things, how you form coalitions and alliances. That'll be the next round. But these are all $10. You get a 60-minute workshop, very specific, tailored to a specific skill. And you will also get an eBook that will serve as your notes. You don't have to take notes. The ebook covers everything that we covered in the workshop. So that comes with the $10. If you want more information, go to the description section of the video. You can get all of that right there. We remove that and let's get to work, what we're here for. This particular workshop will go in our Community Organizing 101 playlist. I don't know if you all are aware, but we have playlists at Harlem Liberation School, and they're organized, they're curated according to topics. So we have one for community organizing, we have one for political education, we have one that shows all of the interviews, and there's a lot of interviews. We have over 600 videos here, so there's a lot to go through. But if you're new to Harlem Liberation School, I would probably suggest start with the community organizing playlist, Community Organizing 101, or the political education playlist. That'll give you a good foundation of what we're about. And it will also teach you a lot of things, I think, and give you a lot to think about. This particular broadcast goes out to everybody in our village, but I'm really trying to hit our young folk family with everything I got. I'm trying to come up with new ways to make things relevant and to reach them, because they are the ones that are probably most vulnerable, in the sense that they may not have elders that's schooling them. A lot of them are doing stuff on their own, well-intentioned, and we want to make sure that they get right information as they're young. And of course, they'll learn their own things as they get older, and as they get involved in organized, you're going to learn things on the job, so to speak. But if you're engaged in struggle, real struggle to improve the material, political, psychological conditions of our people, to struggle to challenge injustice, struggling to organize and educate and build real power that will produce tangible results and change in our community, then you must be prepared to be criticized, family. You gotta be, it's coming, trust and know it, right? Not every now and then, not occasionally, all the time, but as a constant feature of this work. So I don't want you thinking criticism is, it's an incidental thing that happens every night. No, it's part of this work. And studies show that when people have a clear idea of what to expect with respect to a field they're entering, they do far better than people who have no clue. Oh, this is what it takes to be a emergency room doctor? And they had no clue? Chances are they're not going to do as well as those who were clear on what to expect, right? So that's very important. One of the political mistakes that many people make is believing that criticism somehow means that you failed, means that you're wrong, means that you don't know what you're doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, right? In reality, criticism is often, but not always, proof that maybe you're threatening. Now, who you're threatening to and what exactly you're threatening is another discussion. But typically in this work, when people are being very critical of you, it might mean that what you're saying or doing is making people feel insecure, particularly power structures and sites of power. All right, I'm not talking about just Joe Schmo on the block. I'm talking about like the people, the boards of ed, and people like that, the city council, people like that, the police department, and sometimes our own people too, in the community, in the village. What I'm saying, therefore, is if you're thinking about becoming an activist and organizer, you should fully expect, and you should actually embrace, and it's predictable like the sun coming up tomorrow, you're going to be criticized, right? The question is whether you're going to be disciplined enough and wise enough to know how to deal with it, to separate valid criticism from invalid criticism, know what to take and grow from, and know what to completely discard, right? Will you survive the criticism? That's what we're talking about. We're having this conversation in a timely way because the context is that Dr. King Jr.'s 97th birthday was 2 days ago. And his national holiday celebrating his life and contributions is coming up in, 2 days, right? Dr. King, as you know, is widely respected today, widely respected. He has a monument in Washington, D.C. Family, he has a national holiday. He wasn't an elected official. He wasn't a president. I mean, he's very special in that sense. He won the Nobel Peace Prize. This is a person, so many hundreds of schools are named after Dr. King, avenues, streets named after Dr. King. So you know what it is. This is a man that is widely loved and respected. He's beloved in many respects. We quote his speeches. We see his image all over the place, particularly during Black History Month events and websites and museums and things of that nature. He has, even in governmental buildings, well, that may change soon, but his image and likeness you would be seen. But sometimes we tend to sanitize people and their image once they are dead and gone. You might come away thinking, oh, Dr. King was the man. Everybody rocked with Dr. King. No, you would be wrong. This version of Dr. King does not reflect the reality of his life, right? Study Dr. King's life. You're going to see that during his lifetime, Dr. King was one of the most criticized Black leaders in the United States. And that is beyond the shadow of a doubt during his lifetime. And mind you, he only lived to be 39. So he wasn't here for a long time. But during the time, let's say from the age of 25 to 26, all the way to 39, he was criticized by just about everybody from every direction you can think of. So let's think about it. In 1954, Dr. King is 25 years of age. He finished up at Morehouse. He's finished up doctorate work at Boston University. He's considered a prodigy. This man, I believe, was in Morehouse University at the age of 15, right? So he got skipped 2, 3, 4 grades in school, right? So he was a prodigy. He was not your average cabbage. There's no question, no matter what anyone says, he was brilliant. And that is a fact. So he's 25, 10 to age of 25. Those of you watching who 40, 50, 60, remember what you was doing at 25, how you were moving, what the activities you were involved in? He's 25 years old. Some would say he was a baby when he leaves Atlanta, his hometown, moves to Montgomery, Alabama, and to accept his first full-time job as the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, right, in Montgomery, Alabama. The very next year, 1955, those you know the history know, this is when we have what? The Montgomery bus boycott. That actually most historians mark the beginning of the modern civil rights movement around that time, right? And this is when he then becomes president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which is the organization founded to coordinate the efforts around boycotting the public bus system there. All right. Now, at this point, Dr. King's only 26 years old. Got his own church, pastor of his own church, and leading a local movement, civil rights movement. And guess what? As soon as he got that position, soon as he moved there, he got the criticism. 25, he's too young to lead an organ, to have a church, right? Where's he from? Atlanta? He's not from Montgomery. What's he doing here? Nah, he can't be. Criticism. This is all verified. We can look it all up. He's the head of the Montgomery Improvement Association. No, he doesn't know anybody. He hasn't done it. He hasn't shown nothing here. We don't know this guy. He's too young and inexperienced to lead a movement like this. Criticism. But as soon as he gets out the car, right? They labeled him an outsider. They framed his leadership as intrusion rather than contribution. So at 25, 26, Dr. King's dealing with ageism off the bat. He's too young to do this. He's dealing with territorialism off the bat. He's not from here. He's dealing with political cliquism off the bat. We don't know him. He's not in our circles, right? Criticism. So he got indoctrinated with criticism really young, really, really young. You know, I guess that came with the fact that he was so blessed with so many skills and the ability to move in certain circles, right? He had to grow up really quick, and he grew up before our eyes, so to speak. So what matters here is not simply that the criticism existed, but that these criticisms emerge at that very moment where he's thrust into the quote-unquote limelight. Right now, those who know him and who went to school with him in Atlanta, and those that knew him at Morehouse College, will say that he faced criticism there for his age, for being so smart. What's he doing here? Who's this guy? What do we know about him? Right. So he's used to criticism by the time he's in Montgomery, Alabama. This is not an accident, as we're going to get into why he's so criticized. Not an accident. Dr. King faced all types of criticism. He faced ideological criticism. Some disagreed with his nonviolent tactic and philosophy. Some felt it was too slow, it was too accommodating, it appeased the white establishment. Others thought it was too confrontational. It's crazy, right? Some say it's not good enough. Some say, man, that's way too radical. What are you doing? Slow down, King. That's disruptive, man. You're gonna the black people, some of them felt like, man, you're gonna cause harm to come to us, man. Like, slow down, right? Some didn't like the fact that he had come in with the Christian ideology. Some didn't like the fact that he attributed his tactics to Gandhi. Some didn't like Gandhi, didn't know who he was. There's a lot that went on with that. Others opposed what they felt to be his integrationist and reformist politics. Some of these people that criticize him are people I love, people I've studied, and one I met. And it's important that you know that some of those critiques were valid, and some of those critiques had nothing at all to do with his actual politics. Nothing, were not signs that anything with him was deficient. Some of those criticisms came from jealousy. Some of those criticisms, people were jealous, some of them of his intellect, jealous of his great oratorical skills. Some people were jealous that he had the college education. He went to Morehouse, and then he went to Boston University, got his doctorate, and he was young, right? Some were jealous of some of his accomplishments as we go throughout his life. He said in one speech he had over 400 prizes and trophies and awards, not to mention a Nobel Peace Prize, right? And some people I hear were jealous of his gorgeous, multi-talented concert pianist, by the way, wife named Coretta, who, upon his death, took the mantle of leadership and led that King Center and grew his estate to be a multi-million-dollar estate, and his family, right? This is an important lesson for those interested in movement work. It's to say that you're going to get opposition, you're going to get critiques and criticisms, but it's not always political. Some of it is personal and emotional. And you need to understand that. And you need to, once again, depersonalize it. That's the nature of human beings. It's the nature of movements, right? Don't personalize it. Now, during the Birmingham campaign, famous for Reverend James Bevel, who I met back in the day. He was a young SNCC student, a young member of SNCC, along with people like Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown. And he came up with the actually brilliant idea of, let's bring these teenagers, the school children, into the movement. Because that's going to make it, people watching on the news are going to be more what? Sympathetic when they see the kids are out there. Wow. And Bull Connor, who was the racist police chief, who was not above using violence on black people who were protesting, they figured, Reverend Bevel figured, if we had the kids there, this racist police chief would not dare set police dogs and fire hoses on them. Well, they were wrong about that, unfortunately, because all of you who see the black and white video, you know famously that those fire hoses, those people you see flying, most of them were teenagers. Those were young people that they were sicking the dogs on and the fire hoses on, right? Well, anyway, during this Birmingham campaign, Dr. King got a lot of criticism, and he got it from places he didn't expect. Obviously he got it from the white Southern segregationists, right? Who felt that he was radical, he was a communist, outside agitator, he was getting paid by Russia. You know, this is during the Cold War, so it was all types of espionage going on. And he was being accused, and people really believed he was getting a paycheck. He was an agent of the Soviet Union, sent to the South to what? To incite riots and violence. All right. But also, he had a group of white ministers, white clergy people that were allies with him, that were supporting his civil rights aims and objectives. And they were very critical of Dr. King. He didn't expect that one. And they were saying things like what you're doing, and we support what it's for, and Jesus would have represented this and wanted this, but you're moving a little too fast, Dr. King. You need to slow down a little bit, Dr. King. What you're doing might agitate and irritate those rabidly racist white folk, and it's going to incite violence, Dr. King, and we really don't want that. There has to be a smooth way to do this. I've heard that too. Let's do it smooth. Let's do it the right way. These are usually people from the sideline. Let's do it the right way. You're doing it, you're too radical, right? So he had that. Now, here's the thing. Most people would have wilted from that criticism. They had him all up in the paper, man. He's all over the news, family. And at this point, he's a national figure now, right? Because of what happened in Montgomery. So now he has national news affiliates filming these protests, filming these young kids being thrown into paddy wagons, being beaten, being bitten by dogs. So he's getting a lot of criticism, even from guess who? Black people in the community who say, man, what type of minister would send our babies out there to get pounced on by these racists? What is this man thinking? And look how young he is. Oh, yeah, and I heard he went to Morehouse, too. See how it works? All of that gets compounded. So he's dealing with a lot of criticism. And here's the thing I want you to see. That despite all the criticism he faced, he got locked up as being part of this protest movement. They locked him up. Your man took a pen, got a copy of the New York Times, and proceeded to write right from the head. No typewriter, no computer, and certainly no Chat GPT. One of the most famous and powerful documents in the civil rights movement, referred to as Letter from a Birmingham Jail. He sat and wrote. Remember, he's stressed out. He don't know what's happening with his wife. His best friend, Ralph Abernathy, the Reverend Abernathy, he's hearing little bits and pieces about what's going on with the young people. He's worried, oh my God, I hope nobody got killed. They're blaming me. He's probably feeling stressed. He's not even 30 yet. But he takes that pen and he writes that letter to a Birmingham jail. He doesn't name call anybody. He doesn't mention anybody by name. He's not bitterly critical of his people criticizing him. He simply says, he clarifies his position. For those who think we're moving too fast, how long do we have to be slow with this? We have to accelerate. And people who are not in our shoes, who are not going through what we're going through, may not understand that, because you all have the luxury of eating where you want, sleeping where you want, going to hotels where you want, not being denigrated and disrespected like us. So you may not understand, but he was very intellectual. He wasn't biting. He wasn't sarcastic or cynical. He explained the movement and why we use nonviolence and how it works. He educated people through that art. And if you've never read the letter from a Birmingham jail, I want you to read that today. Please get online and just look it up, even if you don't read all of it. I want you to see how beautifully worded that is, how poignant and powerful it is, how he takes the time to explain like a teacher. Okay, I see you don't know. Some of y'all don't know what this is. This is what our movement is about. This is what we're aiming for. This is why we're doing it this way. And yes, it's going to come with some uncomfortable moments, but that's part of what? Creating the type of change we need. And he's in jail, family. He's in jail doing this. He's not at his desk, comfy office with a nice little Chat GPT and computer. He's writing this by hand on a newspaper. Brilliant. The point is that people overlook, even with the document he wrote, is that it was so strategically sound. It was so... I'm not going to get mad at y'all. I know that y'all don't like me. I know you think I'm a foreigner. I know you think I'm not from here. I know you think I'm too young. I know you don't like I went to college. I know you don't. That's incidental. I'm not even going to dignify that. But I am going to educate you to what this movement is about, what we're trying to do. He kept it focused right on that movement. In other words, he did the work. When all that was coming, he did the work. And he let the work speak for him. And that's probably why, against what many people would have wanted, he has these monuments and that Nobel Peace Prize, and we name the streets and avenues and churches and, all types of schools after him. People see something in that gives them hope and inspiration. Wow, he went through all that. And he never shot back. He never took the opportunity to get back at the people getting on him. No, he didn't, because he had a larger goal in mind. These are some of the things we can learn from Dr. King's life that we don't talk about often. And I think it's important for us right now to really wrap our minds around that. He didn't attack the people attacking him. He didn't abandon the campaign. He didn't forget why he came. He wasn't there to go back and forth with the reporters. He wasn't there to go back and forth with the people at home who didn't like him. He wasn't there to explain why he moved it. He's there for the movement. So he kept everything focused on that, right? That's very important. And what that's called, family, is focus and resilience. The resilience meaning he didn't allow criticisms, even from people in his organization, to get him rattled. He said he understood. That's what comes with this. All right. Maybe they don't understand or whatever. Now, even in the 1963 March on Washington, which everybody talks about, even people don't know anything about Dr. King know that he was part of this March on Washington, right? For jobs and justice, I might add. And they know about his famous I Have a Dream speech. That was contested, both the march itself and his speech. Now, some people say that's one of the greatest speeches they ever heard. The great metaphor, the similes, the way he's comparing, America wrote us a blank check, right? We went to cash and it came back marking insufficient funds. What? Hip hop is rap. Y'all know what we talking about. That's where y'all getting it from, those type of people. He helped you see things visually, right? He didn't just say, we're protesting for jobs and justice. He gave it that African, that black flavor. And people loved the speech, but there were people that didn't like the speech. Oh, it was too long, it was too short, it was too flowery. He should have been getting on these white folk what they did. And among those people, two people I love. Brother Stokely Carmichael, who later became Kwame Ture, did not like the speech at all. He said it wasn't anywhere near radical enough. He said, we're right there in the white man's seat of power, DC, and you're saying poetic, really poetic, and you're dreaming, but you're not getting on what they're doing. The world needs to hear you in that moment, in that place, being more critical. My main man, Malcolm X, said, all them people that was there talking, the white man gave them permission to talk. It was going to be radical, but the white people took it over and co-opted it. And so everybody that spoke there had the white man's permission. If the white man's permitting it and condones it, then it can't be for us, right? So he got criticism, and he got criticism from some really heavyweight people, as I just named. At the same time, the Southern racists condemned the speech as being way too radical. See how it works? Way too radical. Claiming that it threatened their peaceful Southern way of life and the peaceful Southern racial order, and that it was going to incite their good niggers to get upset and irate and riot and rebel, right? One speech, opposite criticisms, and this is another recurring pattern you're going to see in mass movement and in organizing. If you're effective and if you're really doing your job well, you are going to be attacked from contradictory positions. So it won't just be your known enemy, it'll be people in your circle who disagree. Because remember, people have a right to have their own politic. Some people are going to be more aggressive and assertive. Others will be a little bit more into gradualism, we call it. Some will be so-called extremists. Some will be more nationalists. Some are more integrationists. Some want their own separate territory. And some say, man, I don't need all that. I just want to get their foot off my neck. I just want to be able to breathe, man, without these people constantly getting in our way, right? So you're going to get criticisms from people right in your camp who have political, a different way of seeing things politically. Let me stop for some, I see some comments. Queen is saying, thank you for joining us this evening, family. She's reminding you to please subscribe. She's saying, that's right, I don't know what, but something I said she agrees with. I'll take it however it comes. Thank you very much to my lovely queen, Sister Brenda. And so just making the point, the criticism will not just come from your known enemies. It's going to come from people you love, people who support you, people who don't mean no harm, but they just see it differently. And that may hurt, but you're going to have to be able to say, well, you got a right to see that differently. And because I at least know they love me and they care, I know that they're not trying to be divisive, that they might see something I don't see. So in those cases, you can say, okay, that's a criticism, I need to think about that. Particularly if you're hearing something from more than one person. If you go through your life and you've been hearing the same thing, you're to this, you're to that, that's for you to go, maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe I gotta scale back and address that. So I want to talk about this criticism piece is important because it's part of effective leadership. Now, remember, we're framing all this around Dr. King. Hope y'all are with me. Try not to be boring like my social studies teachers and most of my life. I'm trying to give it a little flavor, right? Make it come alive. So we've taken you all the way up from Montgomery bus boycott. We went to Birmingham. We talked about the March on Washington in 63. Let's go now to 67. Dr. King, who's now seen, although he's still young, he's only 38 years old, but he's still seen as a veteran now in the Civil Rights Movement. He's seen as the most outspoken critic of United States racism. He's seen as a person who has led or participated in some of the most important civil rights demonstrations and acts, which I should say, to his credit, many of these acts that he participated in with other black people, of course, and even some other whites as well, led to what some would say were tangible gains. Now, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, it doesn't mean that these things were perfect, but it means that what he can say, his legacy is that he left stuff here that we can see, that we all benefited from, and myself included. And so that makes him important even if we disagree with him. Now, in 67, Dr. King did the absolute no for a civil rights leader. It's okay back then to talk about domestic issues, racism, maybe some housing. We need affordable housing, police brutality. But don't you dare open your mouth, black man or woman, in the 60s to talk about war and global issues. Dr. King made a big, in some people's opinion, a big misstep when in 1967 he came to my backyard in New York City, in Harlem, and spoke at the majestic Riverside Church and gave his speech in which he completely said, I am against the Vietnam War, and he gave a very good critique of American imperialism. Whoa, that was a turning point. He lost the support of President Lyndon Johnson to the degree he had his support to some degree. Made an enemy out of him. Fellow black civil rights leaders, they were saying, Martin, please don't. We heard you going up. Please don't go there and say nothing about this war. We're going to lose the president's support. We're going to lose some of our white allies. We're going to lose. Oh, man. Right now, the government sees us as a nuisance. But if you do that, they're going to see us as enemies straight up. Well, of course, they were naive. The government saw them as enemies from day one. Dr. King had surveillance on him everywhere he went. This is known fact, right? All right. Why were they so afraid, the black civil rights leaders? Because they felt like no one's really done that before. We usually talk about domestic issues. You go into their wartime stuff, bro, that's overstepping our boundaries, right? We're going to lose our white allies, some of our black allies. We're definitely going to lose the president's support in any respect. And there's going to be political retaliation against us. They may try to kill us. King understood the course, but he spoke out anyway. He spoke out because he knew, as a Christian minister, as a follower of Gandhi, as a person who believed in peace and pacifism, that the war was completely untenable. Unlike World War II, where there was a clear set of enemies who had said they're trying to take over the entire world and put it under a dictatorship, and there was a certain group of people who identified as being tortured and killed unfairly and all this. People saw World War II as, we got to fight in this war, because if we don't step up here, they're going to take over the whole world. It was a moral thing. Vietnam War, there was no morality involved in that. This was all about money and capitalism and imperialism and expansion for certain markets, right? So this caused a lot of people, particularly college students, high school students, workers, parents, students, to really say, nah, we don't support this war, right? But those were students and parents and teachers and activists, not pastors, not civil rights leaders. So when King did that, that was a, and guess what? He got a lot of criticism. He got publicly criticized by the president of the entire United States. He got criticized by members of the Democratic Party, who some of which were supporters of King and the Civil Rights Movement. Of course, he got criticized by the redneck racists, right? And he got criticized by some of the corporations and the business elites who, of course, had an interest in the Vietnam War, in conquering Vietnam, right? And it didn't stop there. Dr. King is tragically shot and killed on April 4th, 1968. And by the way, that speech in the Riverside Church was 1 year earlier before his assassination, to the day, April 4th, 1967, he gave that speech. He died that day a year later. He was killed. So one of his last public, we'll say, civil rights moves outside of the Poor People's Campaign, he read that there were black sanitation workers. These were all men that were in Memphis, Tennessee. They were outraged with their low pay, their unsafe work conditions. They weren't being recognized officially by the union of sanitation workers, and they had enough, so they went on strike. People may not know this about Dr. King, but Dr. King wasn't just about desegregating restaurants and public bathrooms and hotels. He also was a critic of capitalism. He was a critic of people who were rich. He said that America should never have poor and homeless people. So he critiqued these corporations that didn't treat the workers fairly. So it was a place in his heart when he said, oh man, these guys in Memphis are protesting. I'm going to go and I'm going to lend my support, because now he's seen as the face of the civil rights movement. And there's other people. There's Roy Wilkins and A. Philip Randolph. There's a whole lot of people that were down, right? Of course, you had Ella Baker. SNCC by this time was nonviolent, but had become radicalized. They listened to Malcolm. And when Malcolm gets shot, they get radicalized. So you had a lot of people that were around, but Dr. King was seen as the face of civil rights. So he figures, if I go to Memphis, Tennessee, I'll bring the media. I'll get them more media attention. I probably get them a seat with the sanitation people in power and maybe help negotiate something in their favor, right? So he travels there, and he supports these black sanitation workers on strike. And they had a few marches, and one of the marches they had, which was supposed to have been nonviolent, they had a few younger people in it who weren't trying to hear that nonviolent talk. So they started breaking some store windows and had some fights and scuffles. The march became semi-violent. The news, the media caught it. People saw it all over the country. It was embarrassing. And guess who got blamed for it? Dr. King, who had absolutely nothing to do with that march, right? But because he's Dr. King and he's there, and he did a big press conference, I'm coming to support the workers. I support their rights for more money and safer conditions. They pinned it on him. So he then had to do a press conference and explain what happened, and he then had to lead his own march that he organized in Memphis, Tennessee, making sure it was very peaceful, of course. And you may remember the famous signs, these brothers carrying these signs, "I am a man," hundreds of them, these big signs, "I am a man." That's from that Memphis, Tennessee sanitation strike march, to say that I'm being treated like an animal because I'm black and I am a man, right? Not in a patriarchal way, right? So let's see, we have a comment here. Oh, that's Lovely Queen. She says she agrees with everything. Okay, I'm doing all right, y'all. I'm batting 1,000 now. Hey, I ain't mad. Thank you. So the black ministers. No, let me start. First of all, the white folk in Memphis, Tennessee, that were typical of white Southerners at that time, hated him. Their thing was, why is this dude that's from Atlanta or Montgomery or wherever he's from, what's he doing here? This ain't his state. He's an outsider. Then you had the powers that be that certainly didn't want any parts of Dr. King. They saw what he'd done in these different cities, turned them upside down, made them look bad, or allowed them to make themselves look bad in the media or national news. They didn't want any parts of that. So they wanted him out. They were begging, "Get out of here, man. Take that on the road. We don't want you here upsetting our good Negroes, giving them ideas. Get out of here." But he also had members of the black clergy in Memphis, Tennessee, pastors of churches in Memphis, Tennessee, that said, "Man, let us handle our own affairs." Yeah, he got criticism from within the race, from the people there that said, "Man, we got this. We don't need you to come here putting out our fires. You know, we treating us like we kids. We got this." Right? And of course, he had those of our people at the time who were more nationalistic, Pan-African, radical, leftists, with a critique of capitalism, imperialism, want our own nation figured by any means necessary, right to self-defense, did not like the fact that he was apologizing for the march that got a little violent, even though he had nothing to do with it. What you apologizing for? They say we should all our marches should be violent. What they doing to our people, right? So he had a lot of people family criticizing him, and even though some of even the sanitation workers striking didn't want Dr. King to come help them, because they figured he's gonna bring, oh my God, he's gonna come and it's gonna get worse. The racist whites are gonna burn our church. They're gonna be more violent. They're gonna come together more against us because of what he represents. So even sanitation workers, some of them didn't want him coming to help them. So you can kind of understand it. I don't want us to be narrow. If you understand all those dynamics I just broke down, you can understand why all these different people, including black people, including members of SCLC, his organization, would say, "Mark, we love you, man, but just leave this one alone, man. You already spoke out against the war. You lost all these allies, and now you're going here. Well, let them work it out." Some in SCLC was saying that to him. Let them, that's their business. Let them work it out. We don't need any more problems, right? It's very important to understand. I'm trying to paint the picture. So one of the lessons, again, from the struggle is, yes, we got to fight back. We have to resist in the best ways we know how. But when we do that, some of his critics were right. When you fight the system back, family, they become more entrenched, they consolidate powers, and they come at you harder. So there's always what we call a white backlash, right? From those who are invested in keeping things as they have been and not changing policies and practices, right? So that's important. Now, what are we saying here? Organizers, those of you who are young, it's talking about you aspiring activists and organizers. I hear from some young people like that occasionally. They want to know what I think about some things. They say they want to get involved. Here's something I want to tell you from Dr. King's actual lived life experience, all of which is easily verifiable. If you're getting involved in this work and you plan to be serious and effective, you gotta have thick skin. We're human, so you're gonna feel like, dang, the media I knew wouldn't like, but my black people, you're gonna feel that way, but you can't let that get in the way. You have to actually learn to anticipate it and understand why we think like that, right? If you're going to be a leader in our community, you have to know the psychology and the sociology of our people. How did we get in this position? Who did it? Who benefits? How do we internalize some of that, right? So when we're going around as black people in the 50s talking about, if you're white, you are right. If you're brown, stick around. If you yellow, you mellow, but if you black, stay back. And we're saying that with smiles on our faces, we're complicit to our own sort of demonization. If we're going around saying, calling people, you so black that, well, we're contributing to our own dehumanization. We didn't look at it that way. We didn't know it, but that's what we're doing. We're internalizing things that our enemies are teaching us about us that are negative, right? Okay, so when you know all that, you know why some people criticize. You know some people are going to be jealous. Because people who are healthy will see a person, oh, you got an education, or you did this, oh, that's good, man. That means maybe you'll be better prepared to deal with it, maybe not. But hey, there's no problem with that. And as a matter of fact, the first universities in the entire world come out of Africa anyway. So you going to college don't make me no harm. If we want to go, we should be able to go, right? But if you got that struggling with self-love, struggling with feeling small, struggling with feeling ugly, you got every reason to feel that way, because that's what the whole society has been working to make us feel. So the leaders have to understand that. That's what we're dealing with here. We're going to deal with some people who are mad and have no reason to be mad. I did not do them, but you got to understand the psychology, the sociology, the long history, the movies, the cartoons, the songs, nursery rhymes, 10 Little Niggas. We changed it to 10 Little Indians, but it was originally 10 Little Niggas. And each one of these, it's a story. Each one of these black kids die violently. And then it goes, then it was 9, then it was 8, then it goes down. Each one of them shot, burned, drowns. Yeah, this is what we've dealt with. So the leaders have to understand that, and they have to be thick-skinned. It means that we're allowed to hurt like anybody else, but we can't take it too personally. You just can't, or you'll be ineffective, right? If you're doing serious work and you're sincere and serious, you're going to be criticized from every direction. You saw what I said about Dr. King. He was getting it from everywhere. And he wasn't getting it from just the dude on the street. He was getting it from Malcolm family. Whoa. He's getting it from Malcolm, Stokely Carmichael. I mean, he was getting it, even Ella Baker. Now, Ella Baker was getting at him on what she felt was kind of, man, you don't give room for the sisters to contribute, or don't take the sisters seriously. My point is not whether the criticisms were valid or not. That was very valid. It's that he's getting it from everywhere, and probably seeing himself as, man, I'm trying to do good things, things that are right, things that other people are scared to do. But that's what comes with it. This is for the young people. It's very important you know what you're getting into and that you prepare for that. And this is a whole nother broadcast, what I'm about to talk about. And this is why it's important that we also be spiritually grounded. Not just enough to know what Malcolm said and Chukwueze Lumumba said and Asada said. You better meditate. You better get in touch with yourself. You better remember that you're connected to something bigger than yourself, and that you're connected to a lineage of people that came way before you, that had less than you, that fought with everything they had and dealt with all types of torture. All types of torture. We had black men injected with plutonium, fam. Yeah, this is real talk. We had people that were disfigured. And this is a fact. We had people that were unfairly, unethically imprisoned. And still got them. They're called political prisoners, by the way. Right? So you have to be critically grounded, spiritually grounded, so that you have the wherewithal inside to be able to still keep moving when your friends is doubting you, when the community is doubting you, and the people calling you agents. I've heard it all from all types of people. People call people agents, don't have the proof. Of famous people. People knocking you, say, "Oh, did you hear what happened?" And somebody's knocking them down. It's bad. And now with social media, this is very bad. I see things all the time that make me wince. I go, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's the way that should be done. That's my take. But the point is, I also know once you're out there, you're going to be criticized. That's part of it. And we have to be able to deal with that. And one way to deal with it is say, okay, people don't understand that. And I need to explain that. We need more political education. It goes back to the work. People don't understand why these people are saying that. I got to help them understand the mindset of a racist. More political education. It goes back to the work. It always goes back to the work. You stay focused on what's at hand. Don't ever make it about some brother or sister and make them your enemy. Even if they are your enemy. Don't ever make it about them. It's sidetracks, right? So we want to just go through a few things real quick. You're going to get criticism from friends, so-called friends, enemies, allies, the government bodies, the city hall, and whoever. If you're on campus, the chancellor and the deans, whoever, wherever you are, the powers that be, if you're doing your work for real, and you're challenging what they're doing, their policies and practices, they're going to come at you. That's part of it, right? But it's really how you internalize it and how you respond. You should know. And I had an interview. I saw an interview with King. And it's like, hey, you came to this city, and the people are saying you brought all this unity, and Dr. King just sitting there so classy, just so classy. I don't care what you think about him. It's a classy dude, man. He's just sitting there. He says, how do you respond to that, Dr. King? A white redneck reporter, right? He says, well, I find it odd. He said, actually, what we're doing is exposing the raw, naked brutality and division that already exists that's caused by the white power structure in that city. Boom. Right? But it's not personal. He didn't take it personal. He knows that's what they do. And we got to do what we do. Right? So the thing was, he never clapped back. He never named. He never was in public going back and forth with no black people, family. He knew that doesn't look good. We're not doing that. And trust me, he had black people coming at him. In fact, my main man, Malcolm X, was brought to apologize. And when he, in March of, I think that was 64, 65, he gave his famous press conference saying, I'm leaving the nation and these are the reasons why. In that press conference, he said, I want to say, I've said a lot of ugly things. Listen to him. I said a lot of ugly things in public about other leaders and other black people with whom I disagreed. And I just want to say that wasn't the right way to do that. And I apologize. And some people said some ugly things about me and no problem. He's modeling something for you. That's something we're supposed to take note of. How did he handle? Wow. He's showing that he has the capacity to actually admit, I shouldn't have done that. I may have contributed to what? Some resentment. And now some of these civil rights leaders who I'm now trying to come back to and say, let's work together, they not trying to hear that. Because I call them out their names and all this stuff, right? So he learned the lesson. And he was able to share the lesson with us. And I want to share that with you. It's how you deal with the criticism and how you criticize. We can have critiques of each other, family, but we have to be very judicious, discerning, and wise about how we articulate that. We got social media. I see a post I don't like. How many posts I see and I go, oh my God, I can't believe that. I don't have time to respond to it though, because I'm trying to get this book done, these workshops ready. expand Harlem Liberation School, start a new channel. I don't have time for that. But if I see something that I feel is like, wow, I gotta criticize that. That has to be criticized. There's a way to do that. And we always want to do that in a way where we're not disgracing our people publicly. We're not forcing our people into corners where they have to feel that they're coming out fighting. We're not making enemies out of our people. Particularly those of us who are educators or who classify ourselves as healers or who are people that people look to for some level of advice, clarity. We especially have to be very wise about how we move. And I think one of the people we should look to for modeling that is the great Dr. King. I don't care what you think about him. I don't care what you think about his Christian church. I don't care about none of that. That was a man that put his whole life, his marriage, his family, his house bombed. Everybody wanted to go shoot up the community. Dr. King said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that. Why? Because a leader can't be impulsive like that. A leader has to say, okay, so they bomb my house, which I had to expect because of what? The work I do. I go out now and gun up a bunch of black men and women and shoot back. What's the likely outcome going to be? That's how a leader thinks. And the likely outcome is Black Montgomery is completely destroyed because they're not organized for that type of fight. Many of them are scared. Many of them don't know how to shoot a gun. And we're setting them up to be slaughtered. That's how he had to think. However, what you may not know is that the king had dozens of guns in his home. This is verifiable. It is a fact. Bayard Rustin came over and had to say, was getting ready to sit down. Dr. King said, wait, hold on. And went and took a gun out from under the couch seat. I said, Dr. King, what's going on with the gun? What's up with the gun? He said, oh, I have a few of them. Showed him. So it wasn't that he was against self-defense. He had him in his home to defend his family. But he knew as a leader, he couldn't be putting black people in a position where they had to gun up when they weren't prepared for that. He had to think. I want to leave with this for our young activists. The older heads, if you're here, thank you for joining us. But you younger activists, you got your whole life ahead of you. You can make a whole bunch of mistakes, but you can also prevent a lot of mistakes by listening to those who are older, have done it, and are wiser. Leaders cannot afford to be impulsive. We can't just do something like Nike. In fact, one of the things that separates leaders from those who are not is the tendency to see things from 100 angles in a split second. They say, wait, how's this going to affect? Well, how's this going to affect this? What's this consideration? What's the likely outcome? What do we have the money for legal team? How's the media going to play this? They're looking at all that, right? That's one of the things that makes a person a leader. So one of the things I want you to really think about and work on is anger management. I want you to think about how to think rationally. You know, you may have heard somebody say, we got to know how to think. And some people say, oh, he think. Yeah, they are talking about we don't know how to think. No, they don't mean think. They mean logically think. They mean go through steps of something and say, well, where will this end? That's very important. I grew up in a place, family, where if I didn't have that skill, I would most likely have been dead or locked up. I had to constantly, and I'm not lying, I had to constantly say, so-and-so said this about you. What you gonna do? They're entitled to say what they want. I don't care. As long as they don't come up in here with it, they can say whatever they want. I had to constantly make these micro decisions growing up as a young man. Constantly. You know? And sometimes I didn't make the right decision. Sometimes I paid, but sometimes I made the right decision and still paid for it. Another show for another time. So family, other thing and last piece is, because we need that spiritual thing, and a lot of people will be against you and won't give you the support you may need when you need it, you also need to proactively, on your own, develop a community of people who get you, who understand, who do the same type of work, who've been through the same experience. These things are kind of understood. You don't got to do a lot of explaining, and they can be kind of like your soul tribe. That's important too. That's something that I don't think activists back in the day may have thought about as much. But now with all this talk of mental health and a lot of these things, this idea of a soul tribe has come to the forefront as something that's a very good way to maintain your sanity, right? So you're not out here thinking you crazy because so-and-so and this one and that one don't agree with you. You go to people, no, I understand exactly what you're saying because I've been through that. I know exactly what you mean. I may not agree with you, but I understand. You need that. So young people, I'm not talking about your friends. I'm talking about a soul tribe. All your friends may not be part of your soul tribe. I'm talking, these are people who've gone through what you've gone through and share those values. That's very, very important. Don't forget I said that. That's very important. And as a matter of fact, all black people, I think, should have a soul tribe. You in business, you should rock with some people that's in business. That's what they do, and that's what they live for. And you can exchange information. They can calm you down. They can, when you're ready to quit because it ain't going your way, they're going to build you up. No, it takes time. Don't quit. See, you need those people in your corner. And if you're in a really good situation, you might have friends that you can that can become part of a soul tribe. In other words, through conversations and this and that, you start to see things differently, and maybe they can be part of your soul tribe. But don't wait. Actively go out and find or create your soul tribe, because you're going to need that spiritual piece to go out here and fight wars on behalf of people who sometimes may not get you, may not agree with you, may not support you. It's okay. That's not unusual. That's part of movement. I don't want people thinking that it's just a black thing. This is part of all movements, right? You're going to have people who agree and don't, and that's fine. And then lastly, make sure you focus on the work. Exercise, meditate, get right. Remember, you're dealing with something bigger than yourself. You're part of a thing that other people have been doing way before you were thought of. It's a beautiful thing, but you need to fuel your tank. You need to rest. You need people to big you up when you need to be bigged up and say, it's going to be all right. No, it's all right. I feel you. Even when they disagree, they're going to be like, I feel you. I understand. Right? Because they know that you need that fuel to do the work you do just as they do. It's very important. And when we think about Dr. King, he's not just a guy that got shot and killed because he was for peace and all that. He was a warrior on so many levels, and he was very wise on so many levels. The way he moved and the way he didn't respond to his critics, calling him names and family. You got to understand, in public, that's kind of, makes a brother want to militate on somebody. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put it all in the work. All in the work. And as a matter of fact, you may have seen the interview with Dr. Ahmad Muhammad where he basically verified something I had read. He said, yes, Brother Ajay, I was there, and Malcolm and Dr. King had a long-distance phone call. I was with Malcolm, and they were talking about Dr. King organizing the South, Malcolm organizing the more militant North, and we get the people, on the West and East Coast, and working together, a movement, a human rights movement. He verified that for me because he was there during some of those phone calls. So not only the ability not to take it personally, but to forgive. Because, my man Malcolm was going in on Dr. King. Y'all know that. You know that, right? So his ability to forgive and not take it too personal, because he actually admired things about Malcolm. It came out, and it came out that Malcolm admired things about him. And that happens when you have that level of maturity and that kind of understanding the psychology of our people. You have to understand what we were put through so you can understand why you see some of the behavior you see. It's going to all make sense, trust me, when you do that. And those who haven't done that may not know that. So that's where we have to what? Politically, that's the whole point of political education. So people understand. Why I worked 30 years and I still ain't got no money. Oh, capitalism, we can explain that. Why people can come in our community and haven't been here and they got business and we don't? Okay, we can explain that, the economics, right? How come we've been fighting police and they still doing this? Okay, that's political education. So those of us who are doing that work, keep doing that work. Please take time to celebrate Dr. King, family. Take some time to learn about him. I know some of us have our opinions, but really, I think he deserves at least take 5-10 minutes. Just learn about him. Read that letter from a Birmingham jail. check out his biography. Just see, he was arrested 30, 40 times. And it's for stuff like he's driving 32 miles an hour in a 35. I mean, ridiculous. The level of torture and psychological terror they put that man through. I think he deserves us to at least learn about him and pull out some things from him that will be useful for you. One last comment. Brother Ishmael Bey. Yes, indeed. See, that's a Soul Tribe member right there. I have a feeling, I believe that if I was in a bar fight and it was me and Ishmael Bey against 800 racists, we'd be back to back busting them off. Bang, bang, busting them off back to back. So that's important, family. I hope that this made sense for you. I hope you found it relevant. It's about Dr. King, but I wanted to couch it in terms of things that we can learn in the movement so we know what we're getting into. Because I don't want people dropping out the movement because it's too much and people criticize me. Yo, that's part of it. It's like playing the NBA and you get elbowed coming down the middle. Yeah, fam, that's part of it. You're going to get fouled. You're running back, they clip you. Yeah, that's the NFL. If you're not ready for that, don't do it. But understand that comes with it. And we have tools now. I know you do, brother. I got yours too. Thank you. We have tools now that can help us. We can get soul tribes. We can get brotherhood sessions and sisterhood sessions. Shout out to these black women. I see my queen included that have these circles of women, you know. That's their soul tribe, family. They ain't got to do a lot of explaining. They're not doing a lot of arguing. They talk and they share and they, you know, they help when you need a little help with I got 30, I got 40. They help. And that's what I'm talking about, right? With that said, family, thank you so much. Brother Ish, we got to get you on here, brother. We got to get you on here, man. I'm going to call you soon, good brother. With that said, peace and black power. Salute to Dr. King. I don't agree with everything, but I respect him and I respect his work and his sacrifice. Peace, family. Have a blessed weekend.